So today we begin Parshas Emor, and once again, there are a few beautiful thoughts I'd like to share with you for this week's Parsha. We begin with Rav Zalman Sorotzkin in the Yoznayim LaTorah in a very, very insightful and very, very beautiful idea that Rav Sorotzkin is going to share with us. The Parsha begins talking about Tumas Kohanim. And the first pasuk in the parsha is, hence the name Emor. The parsha begins by saying, Vayomer Hashem el Moshe, Hashem says to Moshe, Emor el HaKohanim b'nei Aharon, v'amarta aleihem, l'nefesh lo yitama ba'amav. Emor el HaKohanim, I want you to say to the Kohanim, who are the b'nei Aharon, v'amarta aleihem, and say to them, l'nefesh lo yitama ba'amav, you should not become tamei. So all the Mefarshim are bothered by the double lashon of Emor v'amarta. Say to them, v'amarta aleihem. What's the reason that the Torah repeats the concept of Amira, of saying to them? So Rashi says, based on the Gemara in Yevamos on Daf Kuf Yadalid, Rashi says, Emor v'amarta lahazhir gedolim al haketanim. Lahazhir gedolim al haketanim. To warn the youngsters by the gedolim. In other words, the adults have to tell the children about Tuma as well. The adult Kohanim have to give the instructions to the younger Kohanim about the halachas of Tuma and Tahara. And there's much to talk about on that, but Rav Sorotzkin is coming from a slightly different angle, but he's coming to show us an absolutely, again, magnificent, beautiful thought in this concept. So he begins, and we begin here on line 1. Emor v'amarta, as we said, Rashi says, lahazir es hagedolim al haktanim, that the gedolim are told to give instruction to the ketanim, to the youngsters. And again, it's a Gemara in Yevamos on Kuf Yudalet. Says Rav Sorotzkin, Lama nemra lashon zerak b'tumas kohanim. Why is it when the Torah gives us this instruction to warn our children, or the Kohanim have to warn their children, it uses, and we learn it out from the double phraseology of Emor v'amarta, say and say. Obviously, that means we're saying to you that you should say to them. But why, in fact, is this phrase, Emor v'amarta, used specifically in this context at Tumas Kohanim? Why is that a question? Halo matzinu drasha kazos gam b'shratzim uv'adam. We have exactly the same admonition, the same instruction in two other contexts in the Torah. When it comes to shratzim, the prohibition of eating the creepy, crawly things, and eating blood. Okay? And if you look in the Gemara in Kuf Yadalid in Yevamos, the Gemara there gives us the three drashos. So it says, by Aval b'shratzim, when it comes to shratzim, back in Parshas Shmini, Ba hadrasha me amar behem lo tochlum. If you look back in Parshas Shmini, Perek Lamed Aleph, Perek Yud Aleph, Pasuk Mem Beis, the Torah there says lo tochlum, and the Gemara makes a drasha because it says it in other places as well that one should not eat shratzim. So here the pasuk is somewhat superfluous, the Gemara says, and we should darshan it, not that it says lo tochlum, but that it says lo sa'achilun, you should not cause others to eat them. Lahazir agdolim al haktanim. The Gemara there says, how do we learn the drasha out? Because it's extra, it says lo sochlum, which we already know, so we darshan it to learn lo tachilum. Lahazir hagdolim al haktanim. ubedam, and similarly, when it comes to the halach of eating dam, in last week's parsha, in Parshas Achremos, me amor kol nefesh lo sochal dam, the Torah says, no one, every soul is not allowed to consume blood, but we know that already. That's not the only time in the Torah it says that. So that also is an extra pasuk, which we darshan. What do we darshan the extra pasuk for? Lahazir agdolim al ktanim. Again, to teach the adults that they have to teach the kids not to eat blood. Says Rav Sorotskin on here on line 10, V'lama batuma b'harem is ali debatorah de'emira kafula. We have the exact same drasha, lahazir agdolim al ktanim. The adults have to tell the kids that they should not do these averos. But in one place, we learn it out from the fact that it says Emor va'amarta. Say to them and say again. In other words, the double lashon. You don't have those double lashonos by the sheretz or the dam. And that's his question. He says, again, here line 10, V'lama betuma b'harem is al zeh b'torai de'amir kfula, by the double lashon of saying Emor va'amarta. Shetomar v'tachzor v'tomar. You have to say it and say it over. Ma mashma. Why? Listen to what Rav Sorotskin says. Aval aleinu lasum el leiv. We have to concentrate. We have to think about this. Concentrate on this idea. Put this to heart. Sheyesh beis mechanchim l'yeled. Every child has two means, so to speak, of education. Echad hahorim mos shalucham hamoreh. Parents are the child's primary teacher, or their parents' emissary, the teachers in school, the representative of the parents. But his school, his parents, that should be the primary educational tool for each child. That's A. Bays, but there's something else that teaches the child. Something else very influential in a child's education. Harachov, the street. Hasviva, his surroundings. Asher bo nimtza hayeled, where the child is found. The street, his friends, those are very influential in a kid's development. V'chein amru Chazal, Chazal themselves tell us, Harbe shchenim hara mosim, bad neighbors are very problematic. Gemara and Sota teaches us. Pirkei Avos, Perak Beis, Amru, Shaderech Hatova Sheyidbak Adam. The best way for a person to, best path of a person to choose, Hu Chaver Tov or Shachen Tov, a good neighbor, good friend. That's the best path. You have to have somebody who is a positive influence on you. Visham, also in Pirkei Avos, Knei Lecha Chaver, acquire for yourself a good friend, because a good friend is, again, a positive influence on you. Hare, says Rav Sorotskin, Sha'adam uprat hayeled, a person, and specifically children, youngsters, mushpa ma'od mechavera v'shchenav, are tremendously influenced by their friends and their neighbors. V'lomed mehem harbe. They learn a lot from the street, from their friends, from their neighbors. And he says in parentheses, sometimes even more than from his rabbeim or from his parents. The ashrei ha'ish hamachanech esbanav b'sviva tova u'matima l'rucho, and praises the person who educates his son b'sviva tova, with a good environment, u'matima l'rucho, and which is appropriate for his spirituality. Ki oz hasviva misayalo. So then the surroundings only helps and enforces and encourages what he's being taught at home and what he's being taught in his yeshiva by his rebbeim. Who mazhir as banav ala Shabbos? The father teaches him about Shabbos. The rebbeim teach him hilchos Shabbos. Vasviva shomeres as Shabbos. And he lives in an environment where Shabbos is special. Shabbos is unique. Hu mazirosam al hatzitis vatvila. He teaches his children that you have to wear tzitzis and you have to daven 3 times a day. Vasviva osa gam kenzos. Everybody davens, everybody wears tzitzis. A person's environment is only an encouragement to do what he's taught in yeshiva or in his home. Oz yala hachinuch lahorim benakal. But then, under those circumstances, the parent's education is very simple. The dibur akal, simple words. Ba'amira ba'alma. Oh, everybody's keeping Shabbos, everybody's wearing tzitzis, everybody's putting on tefillin, everybody's davening, so you do too. That's what we're teaching you. You see, that's the community, that's the environment, that's the surroundings, that's the neighborhood we live in. Aval oy lo la'ah, woe to the father. Hamachanech hasbana b'sviva zora l'ruach yisra v'toraso. Woe to the father who's raising his children in an environment which is alien and foreign and negative to the proper spirit of the Jewish people and the Torah. He tells his children to keep Shabbos. He tells his children to keep the mitzvos, and all he sees outside is Chilul Shabbos. All he sees is the violations of the halachas of what Shabbos really is. And his friends are being Machal Shabbos, and his friends are going to the movies, his friends are going out. And his parents say, you keep Shabbos. Hu mitzuva osam al tzitzis u'tfila, the father tells the child to wear tzitzis, to daven, and his friends are mocking it. Oy lo agim chas v'shalom al zeh. Or they're, negating the whole thing. Uvamatzav kazeh ma yaseh. In such a circumstance, what should the father do? Shalo yechta haben. How can you prevent the son from sinning? He tells him to put on tzitzis and tefillin. He tells him to daven. He tells him to keep Shabbos. And Rahman al-Litzlah and all his friends, all the neighbors, the entire surroundings that the child finds himself in, it's all a joke. It's all meaningless. It's all nothing. What do you expect? Yazir v'yachzor v'yahir. You have to keep telling him. Yomar v'yachzor v'yomar. You have to continually tell him that. Yachpil es hashgacha v'hameretz v'yarbe olav devar machizak lagado. You have to continue putting in the effort. You have to continue teaching him until you're zochet to raise him. L'chachmo l'chancha b'ruach haTorah v'mitzvah. It's a much, much more difficult process of raising a child when the surroundings, when the neighborhood, when the friends are negative. And you have to keep on knocking it into him. Says Rav Sorotskin, that's the pshat in our pasuk. The Kohanim who are giving the mitzvah to be mechanech their children, that they need to separate themselves from tuma. They all find themselves in a terrible predicament. The Kohanim find themselves in a terrible predicament. The general Jewish society is not concerned with the daily applications of the halachas of Tumah and Tahara. He's not even talking about now, Bisman Hazeh. He's talking about even in the time of the Beis HaMikdash. The Jews, under normal circumstances, were not that concerned with Tumah and Tahara unless they had to go to the Beis HaMikdash. And under those circumstances, they had to be matahar themselves. But just daily life, there were people who wanted to be tahar at all times. But it wasn't necessary unless you were going to the Beis HaMikdash and bringing kudshim, etc. So therefore, it's not that important. But a Kohen who's eating truma regularly, who's working in the Beis HaMikdash, needs to be constantly concerned with Tumah and Tahara. Says Rav Sorotskin. Okay? Ukisha Kohen HaKatan Roeh, when the Katan, the young Kohen, the adolescent Kohen sees Shechaveirav Ketanim Kimoso, his friends, his friends in yeshiva, his colleagues, Bnei Yisraelim, non-Kohanim, Mizalzelim Binyei Atuma, they don't really care with concepts of Tuma and Tahara, right? They're going to run through areas which might not be completely Tahar. It's difficult to stop the kid because all his friends, are, let's say, running through the cemetery and he's not. Therefore, in this pasuk, which is talking to the Kohanim, it says, Emor v'amarta, lahazir agdolim alaktanim, lahadgish al hakoshi sheyesh bechinuch aktanim, lishomer b'kol tuma b'siva. To emphasize the difficulty there is in educating youngsters to be careful from tuma in a sviva, in an environment which is not necessarily on the same page. They're not commanded and they don't care about it. And therefore, it's the father's job to repeat and put the tremendous effort into emphasizing to the kid that he has to keep this mitzvah even though the rest of them are not. Lomar, v'lachzor, v'lomar, to repeat, emor, v'amarta, at shekabel hakatanas dvarav, until the katan accepts his words. Ume'ashara kfula, hamura l'kohanim, b'davar chinuch banim, b'neiim l'kdush l'Torah, and from the fact that the Torah in this context, when it comes to Tumas Kohanim, repeats it, it teaches us about chinuch in all our children, Bizman hazeh, in the times that we live in. Here, line 60. Asher ba'avonoseinu harabim haTorah nishmeres rak b'bata yirei Hashem, where Rachmanu litzlan, the Torah is kept in our homes, the homes of us who are Yirei Shamayim, al b'berachov, but out in the street, Nebuch, niskal hakatan b'kama dvarim. He encounters many things, and it's much more difficult out on the street. Shehem neged Torseinu HaKadosha, which are contrary to our holy Torah. The kasha limtzar tzviva matima leruach ha'av, and it's very difficult to find things that are appropriate for the ruach of the father, which are appropriate to the spirit and the mitzvos that the father wants the child to do. And it will help him with the education in the Ruach HaTorah. A father has to continue going over in the warnings and teaching and repeating. You have to follow in the ways of your parents. Amar v'amar emor v'amarta. Emor v'amarta, you have to say and continue to say, Bizman hazet tzav hashal l'chol hahorim binyan chinuch abanim v'amanos. And this is, when it comes to parents, what they have to say over and over, keep repeating, because the sviva outside is not necessarily matim, is not necessarily appropriate to raising children in an environment of Torah and mitzvos. Rav Sorotskin. The Netziv, Rav Naftali Tzvi Yehuda Berlin, in the Hamek Dover. Much of this week's Parsha, we lane a Parshas Emor, or a portion of Parshas Emor, multiple times during the year. The first 2 days of Sukkot and the second day of Pesach is the Parshas Hamoadim, the Parshas of Yom Tov that we lane. And so basically 4 times a year, we're reading a certain section of Parshas Emor. The psukim that we read on Yom Tov do not begin with the Parshas HaMoadim. They begin with the psukim Shor o Chesav o Eiz ki Yivaled v'Yoshev Yemim Tachas Imo, Shor o Chesav. And there it talks about the mitzvahs of Osov Es Beno, that you can't shecht an animal and its mother on the same day. Talks about other mitzvahs, the mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem, the mitzvah of Chilul Hashem, then it's Tziv has rights that whole section, and we're not going to do that right now. We'll save that maybe for next year. But then Netziv writes that whole section that is attached to the Parshas Hamoadim that we lane on Yantif all has to do with Yantif. It all is an introduction to the Parshas Hamoados. How it is, again, that's not what we're going to do now. We're going to show you something else in this context. Within those psukim that preface the Parshas Hamoadim, Parshas Hamoados, with what prefaces there's a pasuk that says, Ushmartem mitzvosai va'asisamosam. You should, Ushmartem mitzvosai, you should guard my mitzvos, va'asisamosam, and you should do them, Ani Hashem. And that pasuk is one of the psukim, again, that comes as a preface to the parsha of the Yomim Tovim. And the Netziv here is going to say something absolutely magnificent. The Netziv writes as follows. He says, we begin here on line 1. Ushmartem mitzvosai, Lashon ha-she'iltos de Chanukah. He says, I want to quote the she'iltos of Chanukah. The she'iltos is a sefer written by Rav Achai Gaon of the 8th century. And the She'iltos is one of the earliest halachic svarim that we have, and it's the Rav Achai Gaon based it on the Parshas HaShavua. He wrote, ostensibly, he wrote these, that people should learn them on the Parshas HaShavua, and it's not just about the Parsha, it's primarily halachic discussions of inyanim that can come up in the Parsha or the Parsha of the week. And the Netziv himself wrote the major commentary on the Shiltos called the Hamek Shela. But here in his Parish on Chumash and the Hamek Davar, he's quoting something that the Shiltos write. So let's again begin here at line 1. Ushmartem mitzvosai, Pasuk says, Ushmartem mitzvosai v'asisam osam, Lashon ha-she'iltos de Chanukah. The She'iltos writes in his section where he discusses Chanukah, he says as follows. He says, Kvar amra Torah, ushmartem mitzvosai v'asisam osam. We already know this concept. We have it, this phrase in this form or similar is been quoted and repeated over and over in Parshas Emor, Parshas Kedoshim, keep my mitzvos, guard my mitzvos, and do them. Ubo Chachamim, and the Chachamim, this seemingly is a repetition, general rule regarding mitzvos. Ubo Chachamim, but the Chachamim have said, again, we're quoting the She'iltos, Upershu, and they told us that this phrase, Ushmartam mitzvosai v'asisam osam, and again, remember, we're talking about in the context of Yom Tov, and you'll see what he means in a minute. Pershu, bo chachamim, upirshu, v'chikru, v'asusiyag laTorah. He says that this mitzvah, this pasuk, uvushmartam mitzvosai v'asisam osam, is coming to tell us 3 ideas. Pirshu, to explain, Chikru, to investigate, V'asu siyag l'Torah, and to make a fence around the Torah. That's what this pasuk is coming to teach us. Ushmartem mitzvosai v'asisam osam, Pirshu, v'chikru, v'asu siyag l'Torah. Those 3 ideas. Ad kan l'shono. End quote of the She'iltos. Says the Netziv, Amad Rabbeinu al shtei kavonos b'zeh hamikra b'perish mitzvosai. The Rav Achai Gaon here, the She'iltos, is coming to explain the word mitzvosai, which could be understood in 2 forms, 2 ways. Chada, the first way that it could be understood. First way it could be understood, Kedas Talmud Bavli B'Brachos, the Gemara at the beginning of Maseches Brachos, Daf Hey Amud Aleph, where the Gemara says, Ala Pasuk, Ve'etna Lecha, and Moshe Rabbeinu ascends the mountain, And HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him, come up on the mountain, come up on Har Sinai after Matan Torah. I'm going to give you the stone tablets, Luchos Eben, Torah. I'm going to give you the Torah, and I'm going to give you the mitzvah. Well, what's Torah and what's mitzvah? So the Gemara there in Brachos teaches us what is Torah and mitzvah. Mitzvah zu Mishnah. Torah means Mishnah means the Torah Sheba al Peh. Perish mitzvah, the Kabbalah Baal Peh. I'm going to tell you not only the Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu was told by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but I'm going to give you the oral law, the Torah Sheba Peh, of what all the mitzvahs entail. The says the Netziv, so therefore, what's the pshat here in this context? Asher b'mei moadim tishmeru. So when it comes here in the context of the Yontif, tishmeru, shmartem, you have to keep the Torah Sheba Peh, hamekubalos, what we have received in Torah Sheba Peh, that we have received throughout the generations. Torah Sheba Peh, that's what it means, shmartem mitzvosai. You have to keep the mitzvos that we received throughout the generations, Torah Sheba Peh. Va'asisem. Okay, so then what's the next phrase in the pasuk? It says ushmartem mitzvosai va'asisem osam chadashos. You have to learn new things. New things you have to do. Chadashos. Ukmoshe kasafti la'el, and he says, the Netziv says, look back. I told you last week in Parshas Emor, Perik Yud Ches pasuk Hey, b'mashmos asiya b'kama makomos. Okay, I told you asiya means to do new things. Asiya, to make new things, to do things that maybe you haven't done before. Therefore, says the Netziv, Ainu Detanya Bakama Makomos, this is the source. This phrase here in Parshas Emor, according to the Shiltos, Ushmartem Mitzvosai Vasisam Osam, that is the pshat where the Gemara tells us, Shol and Bedorshim Behilchos Pesach Pesach. The Gemara says, on Pesach we have to learn Hilchos Pesach, on Shavuos we learn Hilchos Shavuos, on Sukkos we learn Hilchos Sukkos. You have to learn the Chag B'Chag. On the Yontif you have to learn the halachos. V'hainu Chakiros Chadashos. And that's the pshat on doing new things. Sholin V'Dorshim. Because what does that mean? Because if it was only talking about doing the halachas, learning the halachas, you take Shalom, Hilchos Pesach Pesach. What did we say earlier? Here, back on line number 4. Pirshu, v'chikru, v'asus yag Torah. There are 3 things. Pirshu, v'chikru, v'asus yag Torah. Pirshu, again it says to explain. Chikru means to investigate. And asusiyag l'Torah, we'll get to that in a minute. So he's saying that sho'olim v'dorshim. Sho'olim is pirshu. V'dorshim means, is chikru, to investigate, to look at new things, to learn deeper. V'hainu chakirus chadashos. V'zeu derash sholos pirshu v'chikru, pirshu b'mashu mekubal mikvar, v'chikru chadashos. Hachada. That is one way to understand the word mitzvosai. So we've spent the last few minutes talking about the word ushmarta mitzvosai, and that is one way to understand mitzvosai, that it means, as we just said, it means the Torah Sheba'al Peh. That's the way the Talmud Bavli understands the word mitzvah in that pasuk, the etna, this pasuk here on line 8, the etna l'chas luchos ha'eben v'torah mitzvah. But Od Yesh Lefaresh, he says, I have another way to understand the word mitzvosai. Al pidas ha-Yerushalmi brachos, the Yerushalmi darshans it differently. And what does the Yerushalmi say? Al zeh pasuk, ve'etna lecha, this pasuk, look how he darshans it. Iskish Torah mitzvos l'Torah. The Yerushalmi says that there is a hekish, there's a comparison between mitzvah and Torah. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, come up and I'm going to give you the Torah and the mitzvah. Says the Yerushalmi, ma Torah tu'una bracha, af mitzvos tu'una bracha lefaneha. Just as a person has to make a bracha, this is what the connection is. That just as a person is required to make a bracha, Birchas HaTorah, before he learns, a person is required to make a bracha before he does a mitzvah. Okay, as he's explained it over there, if you look back in Parshas Mishpatim, Perek Chavdal Pasuk Yud Beis, he explains this Yerushalmi. So from this, Yerushalmi says the Netziv, Yesh Lafaresh Ushmartem Mitzvosai. What does it mean, Ushmartem Mitzvosai? In our pasuk here in Parshas Emor, you should keep the mitzvos, you should guard the mitzvos. Mitzvos Maaseh Haksuvim B'Parshas Moadei Hashem. You have to keep the mitzvos that are written here in this parsha. You have to keep the mitzvos that are written in this parsha of Moadim that we're about to learn. And Vasisa Mosam, you do them. Oh, Tasu Siyag LaTorah. You have to make a fence around the Torah. Sheyu Nishmarim Yafeh. That they are kept Yafeh. They're kept properly. Okay? That here, you have to make sure that the mitzvos are guarded, and you put a fence around the Torah. And the Parshas HaMoadim is the source, he says, Asisa Mosam, for us to put a fence, to guard, to make sure that the mitzvos are protected. What does he mean? Says the Netziv here in the Harchev Davar. Listen to what the Netziv says here in his expanded notes in the Chumash. He writes as follows, line 30. Listen to this. V'hizir ha'kosav b'yichud b'moadei Hashem, and this concept of making a siyag against the a siyag for the Torah is put specifically in the Moadei Hashem, who apisha kosav b'tshuvas hagaonim b'shem tshuvas Rav Hai Gaon Zal, going back to the response of the tshuvas of the Goanim and the tshuvas of Rav Hai Gaon, le'inyan yantav sheni shal Galius, talking about the second day of Yantav. Listen to this. Shahanavim tzivu es Yisrael lasos came. Yom Tov Sheni Shal Galius, says the Netziv, based on the Tshuvas HaGaonim, is the concept of Asu Siyag LaTorah. And the Nevi'im commanded the Jews to do Yom Tov Sheni Shal Galius, to have a second day Yom Tov. Yecheskel HaNavi v'Daniel osim. Even the Nevi'im of Yecheskel, Daniel, kept 2 days Yom Tov. They lived in Bavel. The Siyam Rav Hai Gaon b'zeh halashon, and Rav Hai Gaon in his tshuva concludes as follows: quote, listen to this. V'shema miyamos Yoshua ben Nun kach hinhigu es kol hayotzim u'mishtarim b'chutz la'aretz lasos kain. It's possible, says Rav Hai Gaon, that from the time of Yehoshua ben Nun, way back, at the beginning of our living here in Eretz Yisrael, Yoshua ben Nun, the leader that came after Moshe Rabbeinu, told Jews who were leaving the boundaries of Eretz Yisrael, look at this, Kol hayotzim mishtam b'chutz la'aretz la'asos kain, to do it, to keep a second day Yom Tov. Now, he would just make that up out of thin air. Says the Netziv, v'chol zeh bevadai merumas b'Torah. It must be hinted to in the Torah. Dialpi omek hadin, if you really think about it, lo hayalana lochu shema nisaba adar samach l'nisan ha'elul. Why do we keep 2 days Yom Tov? Well, we're not sure if Rosh Chodesh was 1 day or 2 days. If Rosh Chodesh was 1 day, then Pesach is on this day. If Rosh Chodesh was 2 days, then Pesach should be on another day. He says, we don't have to worry about that. Why not? That means the month prior to Sukkot or the month prior to Pesach, we don't have to worry about it. That means Adar, right before Pesach, or Elul, right before Rosh Sukkot. We don't have to worry about that. They maybe it was a leap month. They had an extra day. Mishum Shalpi Rov Hemachasera. Because we have a halacha. Halacha is we go after the majority. And the majority of the time, historically speaking, those months were only 29 days. The Gemara says explicitly in Maseches Beah and elsewhere, he says, from the days of Ezra, we never find that Elul was Me'ubar, was 30 days. So we have halacha, we should go after Rov. V'teda she'ein safek mamash, she'ein anu nog m'sveika diyom elin and sviras omer. Afal gam came in Torah b'chutz la'aretz. We don't have a concept of Sfiras Ha'omer Sveika Yom Tov. We don't say today is the 26th or the 27th, 25th or 24th. We don't do that, even though it's a mitzvah in Torah, l'shitas or rifa harambam. If it's a mitzvah in Torah, according to some Rishonim, the Rif, the Rambam, then it should be a suffix d'oraisa l'chumra. We should say maybe today's the 26th day, maybe it's the 27th day, whatever day it is. Because that might be a denigration of Shavuos if we would do that, because what day, we don't know when it's falling. Okay, because we can't have Yom Kippur for 2 days. So we establish and we assume that the months were Chaserim. That Elul is 29 days and Adar is 29 days, and there's only 1 day. So it's really not, we don't keep, says the Netziv, an unbelievable Chiddush. It's not because of Sveika Diyoma that we are keeping 2 days of Yom Tov. Mikomakam Bekuf Hamoadus Nagu Safek Mishum Shmira Yisera. We're keeping 2 days of Yom Tov to guard the Yom Tov, to make sure we keep the Yom Tov properly. It's not a halacha of Sveika Diyoma, it's a halacha of Asu Siyag LaTorah. V'zehu Dvar HaShe'iltos, and that's what the She'iltos is telling us, V'asu Siyag LaTorah. And that's why it comes here. Yom Tov Sheni Shagalius is a guarding of the mitzvah. We have to guard the mitzvah. For whatever reason, we have to put a fence around the Torah. And therefore, the Yom Tov Sheni Shagalius is a mitzvah that is merumas here in the Torah, in the pasuk of Ushmartem mitzvosai v'asisam osam. It's a siyag, it's a fence around the Torah. And that's why it's found right here. Unbelievable idea of the Netziv. Now, the next pasuk is a pasuk of, as I mentioned moments ago, it's a pasuk of Kiddush Hashem. So again, the Netziv says it's included in Yom Tov. We're going to move away from that for a moment when we look at Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky. Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky in Emes Yaakov says also, magnificent and a very important and significant idea. He says, V'niktashti b'sot b'nei Yisrael, I shall be sanctified amongst the b'nei Yisrael. He says, if you look at the Rambam in Perek, if you look at the Rambam and Perek Hey Mehilchos Yisodei HaTorah Halacha Fa'alef, the 5th Perek of Yisodei HaTorah, the first halacha, he writes, V'zel Lashono Kol Beis Yisrael Matzuvim Al Kiddush Hashem HaGadol. All of the Jewish people are commanded on the mitzvah of sanctifying the great name of Hashem. And he says, Shenemar, based on this pasuk, V'niktashti b'sot b'nei Yisrael, I shall be sanctified amongst the b'nei Yisrael. Says Rav Yaakov, Bamesha Kosav Kol Beis Yisrael. Why does the Rambam say Kol Beis Yisrael? The entire house of Israel. So you know what Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky says he means here? Kivein l'rabos afilu ketanim. That this is an exception to the rule. Ketanim are not obligated in mitzvahs. Yes, we have to train them, as we began earlier this year with Rav Zalman Saratskin, but Ketanim are not obligated to do any mitzvahs. So he says that in this context, the context of Kiddush Hashem, children are also included in it. Kidduchsiv, how do we know that children are included in a phrase? The Rambam words his halacha saying that it's Kol Beis Yisrael, pasuk that we are very familiar with from Tehillim. We say, Yevarech es Beis Yisrael, haktanim im hagdolim. We ask Hashem to bless Kol Beis Yisrael, the Kanim im Agdolim. We see that children are included in the phrase Kol Beis Yisrael. Says Rav Yaakov Atam Nirali, and the reason is apparently to me, Midolot Tichsiv, why? How does the Torah phrase the mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem? It doesn't say Takdishu es Shemi, you should sanctify my name. So then it's talking about those who have the mitzvah to sanctify. The takdishu Hashemi, you are required to sanctify my name. Aval mikevan dichsiv, here on line 10. Since the Torah, it's said in the reflexive, v'nikdashti, I should become sanctified amongst the Bnei Yisrael. Shakadosh Baruch Hu kavayachal hu anifal. He's the one that it's happening to. We should sanctify him. He shall be sanctified. Imkein gam al yidei aktanim efshar sheyaseh in hazeh. Then he could be sanctified through the katanim as well. Makes no difference who does the sanctification. The object here is that Hashem should be, the goal is that Hashem should be sanctified. V'yamarti zeich l'davar, ha'pasuk shevi Aram Sefer Mitzvah Shalom. He says if you look in the Sefer HaMitzvos of the Rambam, where the Rambam quotes this mitzvah tes, in the Sefer HaMitzvos, he brings a pasuk from Yeshaya. Here he says, mitzvah tes, shevi kradi Yeshaya, perek chaf tes, pasuk chaf gimel, and the pasuk that he quotes, the Rambam quotes, is kirbiyoso yoladav v'gomer, yakdishu shemi v'kdishu es kadosh Yisrael. Pasuk says when he sees the youth, so they will sanctify the sanctified of Yaakov, of Klal Yisrael. Haresha Kasav Yoladav. The pasuk that the Rambam quotes in the Sefer HaMitzvos includes children. Says Rav Yaakov, an unbelievable idea. He says, must be that this is what the Jews had to rely on during the Middle Ages, during the Crusades, during the terrible persecutions that Jews had to endure throughout our history. Shemasru nafsham v'nafshos b'nei beisam al kiddush Hashem, b'vad shelo leihem eradas. Jews would give their children over to be killed. Now they have a right to do that. They're not mechuyev in kiddush Hashem. So why did they do that? L'chora b'shlama nafshosam harin nitztav l'hereg v'layavar. The Jews themselves have a mitzvah of yehareg v'layavar. You can't, you have to give up your life for kiddush Hashem. But where do we see that children also have the mitzvah that their life should be given up al kiddush Hashem? Who gave them the right to do it? This is a discussion of the Rishonim, and Rav Yaakov is just trying to give us an idea here. But according to what I'm saying, says Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky, it's good pshat. If the children would convert or would do something keneged Torah and mitzvahs, that would be a terrible chilul Hashem. Iyum al kain, it's a terrible threat. Im kain al mitzvah Hashem iyum. Sorry, mizeh chilul Hashem iyum. A terrible, terrible chilul Hashem. Im kain al mitzvah zu nistavu gam aktanim. So you see, the fact that it says v'nikdashti es b'nei Yisrael, they should be sanctified in the reflexive. It doesn't matter who does it, children, adults, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to be sanctified, and even children are included in the mitzvah, says Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky. We mentioned before, let's move now, let's continue, Rav Moshe Feinstein and Drash Moshe. We've mentioned before the Parshas Emor, we've been talking about that for a while, the Parsha of the Yom Tovim, and the Parsha of the Yom Tovim the Parsha of the Moados begin with Shabbos. It says, Eila Moadei Hashem asher tikru osam b'moadam. These are the Yom Tovim that you should call Moadam. Sheish Hashem te'asem malacha. For 6 days you should do malacha. So all the Mefarshim ask, that's Shabbos. That's not the Moed. So Rashi is bothered by it, and Rashi says, Perish Rashi, here, line 2, Ma inyan Shabbos eitzel Moedos. What's the connection between Shabbos and Moedos? Lamedcha to teach us, Shekol HaMachalas HaShabbosos, I'm sorry, Shekol HaMachalas HaMoedos, anyone who is Machalel, the Yom Tovim, Malin Alav Kilu Chilas HaShabbos. It is as if he's Machal Shabbos. Anybody who fulfills and keeps all the Yom Tovim, Malin Olav Ki'ilu Kiyam Es HaShabbosos. We consider as he kept Shabbos. There's a connection. Just like you keep Shabbos, you'll keep Yom Tov. Just like you keep Yom Tov, you'll keep Shabbos. And if you're Machal one, it's like you're Machal the other. What's the pshat in that? What does Rashi mean? Nira Be'er Hadvar, says Rav Moshe, the Shabbos Harayu Tachlis Ha'emunah B'Brias Olam. What's the purpose of Shabbos? What does Shabbos come to teach us? That HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Borei Olam. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the creator of heaven and earth. That's Shabbos. Mitam Zeh, HaMachal Shabbos, that's the reason that someone who Rachmana Litzlan is Machal Shabbos, Chas V'Shalom, Kil Kofar B'Maisa Bereshis. He's denying in Maisa Bereshis. If you know, in Machal Shabbos, you say God did not create the world in 7 days. He's not the creator, Rachmana Litzlan. That's what Shabbos is. The Hamoados, what are the Yom Tovim? What's the underlying theme and message of Yom Tov? Hu ha'emuna shahashem yizbarach maneg es ha'olam kulo ba'atzmo. It is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the manhig, is the leader, is the one who is running the world. He's the director. He's in charge. Umishaded es ateva, and he controls nature, kirtsono, according to his will, lahatzalas Yisrael, for the safeguarding of Klal Yisrael. Shalakain, and I'll give you an example. When it was necessary at the time to take us out of Mitzrayim, nature changed, miracles occurred, and HaKadosh Baruch took us out. The hechzik osanu tachas anani hakavod kisho lichayne b'midbar, and he took us and enveloped us in the Anani HaKavod when we traveled through the Midbar, the Zonu, Farnes Zonu Gama Midbar, and he provided for us through the Mun, etc., and the Be'er in the Midbar, the Torah Mitzvos, and he gave us Torah and Mitzvos in order for us to travel on the right path. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Maneg, he's the leader, he runs the world. Amra Torah, the Torah teaches us a very important concept here, that Emuna b'chatzi davar eino klum. Half of faith is worthless. Only half faith is totally worthless. Kagon, for example, says Rav Moshe, Shem yamin sh'Hashem yisbarach b'asa olam. You believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world. Avol yita lomar shanhagas olam masa b'yad acherim. God, created the world and went to sleep, and now somebody else is in charge. Afilu b'yad malachim, even if the angels are in charge, but God is not directly involved in the day-to-day activities of man, of life. The Sarei Mala, other people are in charge. Vateva kavua, and Teva is set, and that doesn't change, and God again went to sleep. Hu ke'eno mamin babriya. He doesn't believe in Bria. He doesn't believe in creation. She'ein shum tells b'munazu, that there's no purpose in that belief. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world and left and went to sleep and went on vacation, and other people are in charge. That's worthless. Sharei kevan shelafi ta'uso sha'anhagas olam u'etz al cherem harei ein tzarich lishmar Torah Hashem yisbarach. And there's no purpose in keeping the Torah. Elamasha madim kofar michzofim. It's whatever people believe. You want to believe that, so it's all fiction. And that is how the Rambam explains how Avodah Zarah began. Tos enosh v'hirbo soach and nishkach emunas Hashem nisbarak lagamre. They started believing in God, in things that God created, the trees, the sun, the moon, the stars. Those were all emissaries of God, so to speak. We're believing in those, and ultimately they end up forgetting HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's Avodah Zarah. That's mamish. That's not emun at all. Even if you believe that God created the world, but then he gave it over to others, that's avodah zarah. That's ridiculous. Ulachein, says Rav Moshe, when a person is machal yontif, he doesn't believe in the daily involvement of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the world. Nechshav k'machalas haShabbosos. That is the connection. He's machal Shabbos because he doesn't believe in creation, because he took what Yontif believes and he throws it out. Well, once you throw out what Yontif means, that Hashem is involved in our daily activity, and then you don't believe in creation either. And on the contrary, the other side of the coin, if you're going to say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's not running the world, and that's a mistake, and somebody else created it. Oshanivra Kamazman Kodama Yadua, or the world wasn't created when Hashem said it. It's way back and predates it's everything. Kodam Hayadu Alon Me'ator Me'chazal. It was created before that Chazal, the date that we know from our Masorah and from Chazal. You don't believe in Hashem's running the world. That's where Moshe says is the connection to Shabbos and Moedim. Why does the Parsha of Moedos begin with Shabbos? Because they are interconnected. Ikrei Amuna, what Shabbos means, what Yontif means, what they both represent, are totally interconnected. Similar, it's Torah min hashamayim, and therefore, that is the connection between Shabbos and Moedim, and that's why Shabbos prefaces the Parshas HaMoedos. Finally, last very beautiful quick piece here from the Tosefes Bracha of Rav Baruch Halevi Epstein, the author of the Torah Tamima. At the end of the Parshas HaMoedos comes Sukkos. So if you look in the Parsha of Sukkos, you will see it is a very nice idea that has to do just with Sukkos, but shows us the beauty and the of the Torah itself, how every letter is important. He says, if you look in the pasuk Basukos Teshvu Shivas Yamin, he says B'sach Hakol, totally. If you look in this at the end of the parsha, Ksiv Parsha Hashem Sukkos Arba Pamim. The word Sukkos is the name. The Yom Tov Sukkos is written 4 times. Pasuk Lamed Daled. It says Chag HaSukkos. It says Chag HaSukkos Tasal Shivas Yamim. You should celebrate Sukkos for 7 days. But Pasuk Shalofaneinu, and he says the pasuk that's before us, and he's referring to here pasuk Mem Beis, Perichav Gimel pasuk Mem Beis. It says Basukos Teshvu. You should sit in Sukkos. And then at the end of the pasuk it says, Kol Ezrach B'Yisrael Yeshu Basukos. Every citizen of Israel should sit in Sukkos. Ube pasuk haba, and he says in the next pasuk Mem Gimel, the next pasuk that we're up to, L'man Yedu Dorosechem Ki Basukos Hoshavti. That all the future generations should know that I put you in Sukkos when you came out of Egypt. He says, look carefully. But pasuk Arishon Varachon, the first pasuk Lamed Daled, and the last pasuk Mem Gimel that he's quoting, Ksiv Sukkos Malei Vav. Sukkos is written with an extra vav. Uba pasuk Shalofaneinu, when pasuk Mem Beis Ksiv Shtei Pamim Basukos Chaser Vav, without the vav. Here's Basukos without the vav right here on line number 2, 3, 4, 5, and on line 4 it has with the vav. The Yadua, and he says it is known. What's the Torah is just, add extra ink, so I'm using a vav here, putting in a vav. No, the Torah is very specific. Says the Tosefes Bracha, the Torah Tamima, Ki Basukos Malei, when it says Basukos in full, in other words, with the vav, Mor al Mispar Rabim, it's talking about plural. Ubasukos Chaser Mor al Achas, it's talking about one. What does that mean? Kemo Sukas David Hanofalas. If you look in the Haftorah that we read last Shabbos, Parshas Achrei Mos Kedoshim, Haftorah of Achrei Mos, but we read it for Kedoshim, it says Sukas David Hanofalas. Please rebuild the fallen sukkah of David, and that's referring to one sukkah, the sukkah of the base, meaning the Beis Hamikdash. The Ein Safek Kilo B'Mikra Bo Hashinui Ma'ela. And it's not coincidental that the Torah here says with a vav, without a vav. The parsha achas of psukim smuchim zelazeh, in one parsha and psukim that come one after another. Says the Torah Tamima. When the Jewish people were in the desert, there were 2 types of sukkos. And sukkos shalanani kavod, they were the sukkos that they were enveloped in the midbar. They were protected by the Anani HaKavod. And also there was a sukkah that they sat in when they went out to war. There was a war in the midbar, right? They fought Sichon and others in the midbar. People, they build tents, they build huts when they go out to war. And if you look in Sefer Shmuel, Beis, it says, Ha'aron v'Yisrael Yoshim v'Sukkos, that they built an Aron and the Jewish people would sit in Sukkos when they went out for war. And that's talking about Milchama. Now we understand the two versions of the word sukkah, with a vav, without a vav. But Pama Rishona, in the first time, in Pasuk Lamed Daled, Ksiv Chag HaSukkos. It's talking about Chag HaSukkos, and we're talking about many sukkos. Malay lahoros al chag kaful mishnei minei sukkos. The first pasuk is telling us that the Yom Tov of Sukkos is referring to multiple types of sukkos. Either the Anane Kavod or Shas Mochama. I want to add, he doesn't say this, but I think he's also referring to the famous machlokas in Masecha Sukkah, where the sukkahs, we sit in the sukkah because Zeichel Anane Kavod or Zeichel Sukkahs Mamash, that they actually sat in sukkahs in the midbar. So he says that it refers to the two types. Eilush Anane Kavod, Ve'elush B'Shas Mochama. We have to remember those types of sukkahs. And then the next pasuk it says, "Basukos teishvu kol ezrak nisol yeshu basukos chaseros vav," without the vav. Mishum sheset tzivu l'toros. This is referring to the future, and therefore basukos teishvu shivas yamim be'esha anani kavod lo shimshu. There's no anani kavod anymore. No anani kavod. So we can't refer to the multiple types of sukkahs, of the Anani Kavod and the sukkahs mamash or the sukkahs of Matan Mechama. There's no more Anani Kavod. And therefore, we're only talking about the sukkahs of the time of Mechama or the sukkahs mamash. Okay? V'nisham min sukkah echad, sukkah tivis, the natural sukkah. Benuya b'nei adam, which is built by man. Ulachrona, the last time it says it, the fourth time, but pasuk haba, pasuk Mem Gimel Ksiv Laman Yedu Doraseichen. What does the pasuk say? All future generations should know Ki Basukos or Shafti Es Bnei Yisrael B'Tzios HaMitzrayim Sheyiskru Shnei Minei Sukkos Shayilam HaMidbar. You have to remember the two types of sukkos they had in the midbar. Sukkos Anani Kavod Sukkos Leishe B'Shas Milchama Seyem B'Darcham B'Midbar. And the sukkos they sat on their trip as they went in the midbar. And that's why the Torah writes the word basukos with a vav, without a vav, because there are two types of sukkahs. There's the sukkahs that they actually built, bidei adam, sukkahs mamash, that they had when they were going to war, says the Torah T'mima, or the sukkahs of the Anani HaKavod, which enveloped them, which surrounded them as they're in the midbar. The beauty of how the Torah is meduyak in each and every word and each and every letter, what it represents.